All right, welcome everyone. We are here for Author Success Unblocked. And what I'd love to know is we've got a number of folks that are on the line right now. Turn on your camera. Let us see you. You know, it's not uncommon for people to go into a Zoom room and leave their camera off while they're doing other things. And that's not really focused attention. You want to give this your focused attention. And we have a number of people that are here and that are already authors. And I'd love to see who you are. Type in the chat box if you're an author already. And if you're open to it, type in what you've already written as well. I'd like to see the comments in the name or in the column here on the right-hand side. Okay, great question, Jamie. I'll answer that question in a moment. Want to see who is already an author on here. I wrote a few books, but did not publish yet. Okay. Yes, of course, Janet Lynn, Forever is Today, and soon to be published, $1 Million Soup. And Valerie is about to publish a cookbook. Okay, good. Who else? Are you typing? Or do we have a number of folks that are here that have not written a book yet? Okay, Gareth, of course, third novel in final edit. I love it. Okay, Ronnie is an author, full stop. Okay, good stuff. Do we have any other authors? There we go. Close to starting publishing, writing a few books on my own outside of my mother's and my day job. Okay, great. Ria, upcoming author. Okay, great. Thank you. Jamie, children's books, a book on learning to be a musician with an emphasis on mindset and cookbook. Brilliant. I love it. Cheryl, I have self-published 2 books in the 1980s. Excellent. Cheryl, are they books that are timeless? In other words, would the content be applicable for today? Okay, Stephen, work in progress. Original draft is done. Okay, Florence, in progress. Success. All right, writing a thriller, says Celeste. Okay, cool. All right, great, Cheryl. That's wonderful. Okay, Kathy is published. Okay, good. Okay, Lydia, is it Lida? Lida, is that what your how you pronounce your name? Has already sold quite a few books and has sold 20,000 copies, looking to reach more people. C. Robbins, want to publish a music review book, band of artists, several volumes in the works. Okay. All right, good. Tara Lee Hunter working on it. Okay, how come you're seeing these, Ronnie, and I'm not? That's kind of strange, isn't it? Okay. All right, good. Nonetheless, whether you're an author or would like to be, or haven't even decided yet that you would like to become an author, I'm so glad that you're here, because a big part of what I teach is not only for authors. I don't only work with authors. I work with entrepreneurs. I work with people that are stay-at-home moms or stay-at-home dads, and they simply want to create better success in their lives. And I am an author myself, as you very likely know, 22 books so far. And I say so far because we never know when it's going to end. And the truth is, you know, for many authors that become authors, that they discover that they love being an author so much because of the benefits that it brings to them, that it becomes almost like a very healthy addiction. It's an addiction, but it's a good addiction. So I wrote my first book, never intended on writing 21 more, but I do have 21 books out there in the world. But what I'm excited about today is that there are even better opportunities today than there were, let's say, 10 years ago, or 20 years ago, or 30 years ago, or 40 years ago, or maybe even 50 years ago as well. And the reason for that is because of the advancement of technology. When I graduated high school, I started working in a job where I was operating a mini computer, and I loved computers. I just fell in love with computers, what they can do. But what I love about technology is that it helps us help others. That's the main thing that I love about technology. It helps us help others. Think about Zoom. Where would we be without Zoom? And how has this word Zoom become such a household name, a recognized name? Probably because of COVID, right? Like we had COVID and then we're all locked in, and in some cases, and I live in Canada, I live in the nation's capital, we were basically told not to leave your home. I mean, there were restrictions that were put on us, but we had this wonderful thing called the internet and Zoom that allowed us to continue to reach people anywhere in the world. So when I first became an author, I started using technology. I started using technology to get my message out there in the world, because at the time I was a single mom. So whatever your reasons are for writing a book or bringing a book or multiple books to the world, whether it's for pure entertainment value, because I know we have some authors here and they're fiction authors and that's what they love and that's what they intend to do, or whether you are someone who would love to do nonfiction or have done nonfiction, and nonfiction is usually a how-to type of book or self-help or a book on a specific subject. And you know, what's great about the book industry, there's many things that are great about the book industry, but one of the great things about being an author in the book industry is that people will always want another book. This is an industry that only experiences growth. And even during COVID, the growth was even more significant because people were home more, less travel. And so book sales actually increased during that period of time. But there will always be a need and a demand and a desire for books. So even if you think the book has already been written or a similar book has been written, yours hasn't. And every one of you has a unique story. Every one of you has your own unique experience. Every one of you has your own unique imagination. And how you can bring your ideas to the world is through authorship. And so when I think about when I was preparing for today to be with you guys and to serve you during this 2-hour period, I was thinking about a number of authors that have created phenomenal success, who came from nothing and have created hundreds of millions of dollars in earnings and really created empires. You know, people that were previously in poverty or on welfare that have become billionaire. There's a case of that. Or others that lived or were raised in poverty, may not even be considered intelligent by the standards or the norms, don't have degrees coming off the end of their business card, and yet they've gone on to create phenomenal success. I think about one author in her first year earned $95 million. But what I want you to know is that the possibility and the opportunity is for every single one of you. Every little square that's on this Zoom room right now, every single one of you has a possibility or an opportunity of earning endless amounts of money. And when I think about being an author as a career, there's many reasons why people get into being an author. And some of you that are already authors know those reasons because you got into being an author for a reason. Maybe there was a particular topic that changed your life and you wanted to share it with others. Or maybe you're an entrepreneur and you're running your own business and you wanted to build credibility and you wanted to be recognized as an expert and help other people know what you know so that they can feel comfortable or relaxed in hiring you and working with you. Or maybe you simply love using your imagination, getting creative, and you simply want to entertain people. Whatever the reason, there could be a variety of different reasons. It could be one of those reasons, none of those reasons, or completely other reasons. And it doesn't really matter what the reason is. The opportunity is there. But what's exciting about being an author and this industry is the unlimited potential of where it can go. And if you're on this call a little earlier before we started, right at the top of the hour, you would have heard and seen Roddy and Vladdy having a conversation about this. And Roddy was talking about the multiple sources of income that you can create. And as he was talking about that, I was thinking about the many different sources of income that I've created, that many other authors have created. And it could be from one book. And I'll give you an example of that. I have a book here on my bookshelf, which is my 22nd book. It's called Today is Cash. And this was a book that I released not that long ago, a very short period of time ago. Maybe you're familiar with it. Maybe you're not familiar with it. But I got into AI, artificial intelligence, a little while back, and I immediately fell in love with the AI tools that are available and started using them. But I used them to help me serve other people. And AI and I actually created this book. So if you notice on the front cover, it says that the co-author is Ava. And Ava is what I call AI, or open AI, which is a chat GPT. If you're not familiar with it, you're going to want to become familiar with it. And so what I discovered is that you can work with AI. It's not going to replace humans, because that's not what it's going to do, but it can certainly help you. Like, I think back when I wrote my first book, I wrote that book. I did not consider myself a great writer. I had not gone to journalism school or anything like that. I had a message I wanted to share, and I had read thousands of books. So I just understood from a common sense point of view how books are structured. So I decided to write mine. And I wrote that book. But when it was finished, I hired an editor. So what does an editor do? Well, an editor, and there's different types of editors, but editors, just in a general sense, what they will do is they'll go through your work and they'll revise it. They'll improve upon it. They'll, help you say things better, improve your grammar, check for your spelling, maybe your structure of your sentences, the way that your chapters are designed or outlined. It depends again on how what you're hiring that editor for. But an editor is a professional that has learned how to apply a certain skill set. And they're wonderful. Like, I remember first hiring my first editor and thinking, her name was Janet, and thinking, I'm so grateful for editors, because they can help anyone who may or may not consider themselves a great writer to improve upon their work. And I've worked with many authors all over the world, thousands of authors, and some have English as a first language and some don't. And so their English isn't great. I remember one time working with an author who lives out west, and her writing was atrocious. And that's not a judgment. It just wasn't very good writing. And so, I recommended to her to hire an editor. Do you realize that AI can be your editor now? That you can put content into AI and ask it to edit it, or maybe even revise it or rewrite it in a way. Now, there's free versions of OpenAI and ChatGPT, and there's paid versions. And I have the paid version. I pay the paid version $20 a month. $20 a month. I can tell you I've never, ever, ever paid an editor $20. Significantly more than that. Thousands more than that. I've hired ghostwriters and paid them well over $100,000 for ghostwriter. But do you need a ghostwriter now? Not necessarily. You could hire one if you want, but do you need one? Not with AI. And so I got heavily involved in AI, understanding what it is, how to use it, how to work with it with integrity and with honesty, so that you're producing great work that you feel comfortable with. And that's why I created Today is Cash. And I had AI help me with the constructing of the message, help me with the writing of what the content is on the back of the book, help me with a special offer page that I'll show you right now. I'm just going to bring it up on my screen here so that I can share it with you. And all of this was created with the help of AI. And what's fascinating about AI is it can do a way better job than what I could do. And it eliminates me from having to hire a copywriter. And there are AI websites that'll help you create web pages too. So when you look at this page and how it's designed and all the content that's there, it's designed to promote my book, Today is Cash. And then we have a lot of other, comments and credibility that are on this page that we added, and Roddy put this page together. But as I said, there are places online where you could have a web page created in a matter of like seconds. And I swear to you, that is true. You can find pages on, or you can find content on AI. Like when the back of this book was written for the description of the book, I simply went to AI and I told it, here's what the book is. This is what the book is about. This is the content. Here's the table of contents. And it wrote content for the back cover copy. And I know in the past when I've hired people, and maybe you guys have seen a presentation that I've done where I showed like all the money that I have invested in my business for copywriting and for marketing, etc. And I just decided to look at what I had spent within a matter of 3 years. And it was hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. And we don't hire a copywriter anymore. I don't need a copywriter anymore. Why? Because we use AI. And same thing with a ghostwriter. You know, I've worked with ghostwriters and paid well over $100,000 to have ghostwriters. Would I hire a ghostwriter now? Nope. No, I would not. And so I think it's important that you understand that AI is here. It's here to stay. There is a lot of bad press about it as well, but there's a lot of bad press about a lot of things. We live in a very interesting world. It's a very negative world. You'll find negativity everywhere. You just step outside of this Zoom room and you'll see it and you'll find it and you'll be, you know, surrounded by it. But we don't go there. We don't stay there. We don't let it in. And that's a choice. It's absolutely a choice. But I've learned how to use AI and now I'm sharing with authors. So I believe that nowadays that every person, whether you're already an author or not, has an opportunity to effectively use AI to help you get your message out there in the world. When I think back to when I had first written my first book and I self-published it, print on demand was not available at the time. And I printed 3,000 hardcover editions of a book and had them delivered to my home, and FedEx truck pulled up with the, you know, backed up to the front of my door. And he said, "Where do I put these books? In your basement or your garage?" I said, no, I'll just put them right here in the front of the house because they'll be going out as fast as they came in. That was the vision that I had. Now, I know there are many authors on this planet that have the vision of seeing their books flying off the bookshelves or flying out the door or whatever, but the majority of them don't experience that. Why? Well, it could be a variety of reasons. You know, it could be a mindset issue, but it's very likely a marketing issue. Because when I first became an author, I learned very early in the game that you can complete your book and you can bring it out to the world, but unless you know how to effectively market, it doesn't mean anything. You've got to learn how to effectively market your book if you really want to make a big impact. And what's exciting about this industry is that, you know, you could have a book that you wrote in the 1980s, as Cheryl wrote in the chat box earlier, and let's say it hadn't made it to the top of the charts and wasn't a New York Times bestseller and hasn't been translated into multiple languages. You can still do it. So I typed Cheryl a message and I said, "Is it timeless?" or mentioned, "Is it timeless?" And she said, "Yes." Great. Well, if you're happy with the content and you want to make that book a bestseller, you could certainly do that, and you could do it now. Now, I am a New York Times bestselling author. I have books translated into close to 40 languages and sold in about 100 countries in the world last time I checked, and I haven't added that up in a while, but it doesn't matter. What's really exciting about being an author is the potential impact that you can make. But, you know, as I was preparing for today, I was thinking about the income potential as well for an author. Now, how many of you got on this seminar today because you're excited about the income potential? Now, be honest, okay? There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that whatsoever. But how many of you are interested in the income potential of being an author? And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. Okay, good. Thank you, Regina. Thank you, Hermelin. Yes, okay, good. Only 2 of you? Come on. Okay, there we go. Yay, all right, good. Okay, there we go. Now they're pouring in. Yes, okay, good. And you should be rewarded. You do that work, you should definitely be rewarded for your book. You know, sometimes a book can change your life. It can change someone's life. And writing it can change your life as well. So there's absolutely income potential that's here. And it could be, you know, that you're looking to do this full time. Maybe this is all you want to do. I've heard that from many authors over the years, is all they want to do is just write books and be a successful author. And if so, great. Grab a hold of that dream and hold on tight. You see, when I first became an author and I was really ignorant to the business of being an author, that was 22 books ago, you know, I decided I'm going to learn everything that I can. And at the time, I didn't have a mentor or somebody who was already wildly successful as an author to teach me. So I just took program after program after program after program to learn, to study and apply, learn, study and apply. And I just started to market online. I loved the ability to reach people anywhere in the world because I was a single mom at the time and I had no desire to be a vacant mom. My only desire was to be a great mom. Priority number one is my priority, always will be my priority. Family's my priority, always will be. So that's my number one priority. The next priority is to make a positive and beneficial contribution to the lives of others. And I've changed that. And now it's to make a positive and beneficial contribution to the lives of hundreds of others. How many of you feel this is your mission to make a difference in the world, to make a positive? How many? Yeah? Okay, good. Type in the chat box. If I can't see your screen, type in the chat box if you feel this is your mission. Yes. Okay, good. You know, sometimes all it takes is just one book, right? One book, and then you realize it's your mission. Kayla, who is my daughter-in-law, who's also on this call, where she, I saw her in a little, there she is. You know, she just recently released her book, What a Mess Kid. It's a children's book. And, you know, she was the first comment that I saw in the chat box. And I love that. I love that she's being honest. I love that she's sharing that. And I love that she got on with the work. So having the desire is one thing, but you got to make a decision. You got to make a decision that you are doing this, and it could be part-time. Like I was running my business while I was working on my book. It was a part-time endeavor, but then I got into it full-time and I realized I am absolutely in love with this. So how many of you are looking to do this as a part-time gig? A part-time gig, perhaps to build it until it can become your full-time gig? Yes, type in the chat box. Part-time, yes, okay. Part-time firstly, okay, good, thank you. Yeah, part of the other plan, says Holly. Okay, yes, part-time at first, okay. Build it until it becomes full-time, okay, beautiful. I love it. Okay, good, good. Haven't decided yet? Okay. Full-time, all right, good, good, good. How many of you are serious about this? Like really serious about this? On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 means you're all in, you're committed. I want to see how many are serious. A 10, yes. Okay, so serious, all in, 10. Okay. All right. Well, I want to say something to those that wrote 7, 8, 9, or any other number besides 10. We've got some 11s here. I love the 11s. That's great. That means you're off the charts. Okay, that's good. And there was only a handful of people that were not at 10. And I'll say this, it is important to be at a 10. Now, if you're at a 10, it doesn't mean you're not at a 10 in other areas of your life. You're very likely at a 10. Now, what does it take to get to 10? And it's just a decision. It's just a decision. Like when I think about, and you can do this yourself, you can go to Google and type in, what are the highest paid professions in the world? Okay, let's just talk about this for a moment. What do you guys think are? Let me ask you, what do you think are the highest paid professions in the world? Type in the chat box. Sales, there we go. All right, good. Computer security, finance, entrepreneur. Okay, any others? There we go. Actors, yes. Sports, yeah. Real estate, sales, marketing, sales, computer programming, sports, athlete, football, entrepreneur. Okay. Well, before we got on the call, I looked it up on Google. And number one is like a CEO, like an executive in an organization. And what's the pre-qualifications to become a CEO or a chief operating officer of an organization? What are the qualifications of that? Do you know what they are? Type in the chat box if you know what they are. Just guess, wild guess. Yeah, right, Holly. Thank you. Business degrees, experience, communication, management, innovation. Right, desire to be it, part of it, sure. But if you think about an organization, a large international organization that's looking to have someone run their business, what are they looking for? Right? Leadership? Yeah, you're right. Absolutely. Leadership skills for sure. Usually education, right? That's usually what it is. Not always. It doesn't mean that you have to be that. You could build your own organization. Okay, let's think about another one. A lawyer. A lawyer is actually a highly paid profession. We think about people that are in the 1% earnings. Lawyers quite often are there. Not all lawyers. That's right. Doctors too. Anyone in the medical profession. Surgeons, right? Some surgeons in certain professions, like neurosurgeons, are paid a lot of money. Okay, so let's say you want to be a lawyer and you want to be a doctor. What's required to get into either one of those professions? Yeah, a degree, study. college, study, school, study, years, right? Years to get into those professions, absolute years. Knowledge, sure, but you've got to start practicing. That's right, because you graduate from school as a medical doctor, you graduate from school as a lawyer, you pass the bar. That doesn't mean you're automatically earning money, right? You have to go out and build a business. You got to, go out there, get a job. Absolutely. What about bankers, engineers, athletes? Now think about an athlete. What are some of the highest paid athletes in the world? Can you just go out and do it? Can I just decide to become a professional basketball player right now at this age in my life and go out and become a professional basketball player? Florence finds that kind of funny. Yeah, it's not likely going to happen, is it? It's not going to happen. But I'd like to earn the money that the professional basketball players are earning. Well, you know what? As an author, you can. And you know what the prerequisite for that is? What's the prerequisite for that? Desire. I want you to understand the potential of being an author. There's no end to where this can go. There's no end to where this can go. And the prerequisite is not that you have to go to school for 7 years or 4 years or several years or get out in the working world and work to build that experience in your network and practice, etc. It starts with desire. You could decide right now in this moment that you're going to be one of the wealthiest authors on the planet. Is it really that easy, Peggy? Is it? Yes, it is that. Now, there's going to be work involved for sure. And I believe it's important that you understand what's required in order to get there, but it's possible. There's no end. I'm not done. I'm not even close to being done what I'm going to create. And so as much as I'm very blessed to teach people and to mentor people and to guide people, I apply what I teach. I'm applying it. I'm a great student, but I'm also a teacher. And the reason why I chose to be a teacher is because when I started selling thousands and thousands of my books and got on the New York Times bestseller list and helped many other people do the same, and my books are being translated, and I built a multi-million-dollar revenue producing profitable business out of it, I just wanted to help other people do the same. It's a very rewarding career, an incredibly rewarding career. I want to help you. I want to help you create more and more success in your life. But you have to decide that's what you want for your life. You have to decide that's what you want for your life. And you know what else? You don't have to know how. You don't have to know how. I can show you the way, and you can do this and so much more. When I think about people that I've been blessed to work with, like I'm thinking of Nancy Tillman. Nancy is a lovely lady that I was blessed to serve. She joined my author program. She, like Kayla, had a desire to write a children's book. And so she, got on with the work. She wrote a children's book and released a children's book. And then she realized, like many other authors who do the same, is that once you get a book out there and you think the buyers will come, they usually don't, unless and until you learn how to effectively market. So I was very blessed to serve her and to work with her. And as of about 2 years ago, the last that I heard, she had sold about 5.5 million copies of her books. 5.5 million copies. Now, that's pretty nice. That's a nice income. Just, do some math here. Let's say that she's earning $2 a book. What has she earned? I think about a young lady who was in her teens and loved writing, horror kind of books. And she started doing books and just decided rather than produce them into a physical form, she would just put them up on Kindle and sell them as a Kindle book. And by the time she was 27, had already earned $2 million. You see, the prerequisite is what? Desire, right? It's desire. Do you want it? That's what you have to decide is, do you want it? Cheryl says, I love Nancy Tillman's books. And now her name is known, right? Her name is known because she stepped out. In some ways it is betting on yourself. I know that there are challenges that authors have when they start to think about even writing a book, because I had them. I know what it's like. Because I had the thought, I'm going to write a book, and I started thinking, well, who are you? You barely squeaked through high school. You do not have a formal education. You know, you're not even a great writer. Now, I could have held on to those beliefs. Do you think I'd have any of those 22 books out there in the world? Not likely. Do you think I have been on the New York Times bestseller list? Nope. I certainly wouldn't have earned the kind of money that I've earned if I said no or allowed those old negative paradigms to pull me down. But that's what happens. You know, a lot of authors get involved in negative talk, negative self-talk, and they allow it to pull them back or pull them down or keep them down. You got to believe in yourself. Now, as I said, you don't have to be a great writer. You don't have to be a great writer. And now, this, you know, moment in time, 2023, where we're at with AI can have you writing amazingly well. Now, I would suggest, though, and we do have a course for authors who want to learn how to use AI. We call it AI Author Advantage, and Roddy will put the link in the chat box here. And I would suggest, though, that you come up with the idea for the book, and I can talk to you about how to do that, that you come up with the concept for the book, but you can have AI work with you as your writing partner or as your editor to help you create great content. And it doesn't have to stop there. AI can be your partner and take it even further with expanding beyond the book. So Roddy was talking about MSIs. And I think about, like today is cash as an example. This could be multiple MSIs. It can be an MSI, like MSI stands for multiple source of income. As you saw that page, which I registered the domain name, todayiscash.com. So if anyone goes to Today is Cash, or we're promoting Today is Cash, then people go to that page, they can buy the downloadable ebook. It's not the physical book, it's a downloadable ebook, but we bundled it up with a bunch of bonuses. So this is part of the marketing. And I see a lot of authors who create their books, and what do? They make a big mistake. What's the mistake? They stick it up on Amazon and hope that it'll sell. And it doesn't. And then they're frustrated. Now they may understand what's required to do the marketing, but they don't do it, or they don't bother. And they're just hoping and praying and hoping and praying, like, oh God, please, please, please get my book to go to the top of the charts without doing anything. It never works. And I believe that was a big part of what the challenge was with the movie The Secret, is that people saw the movie The Secret. They love the idea of the law of attraction and how anyone can use it, but yet they weren't doing anything. They weren't moving their feet, like that quote, pray and move your feet. Give prayers of thanks, like, oh, thank you for the success of my book, but move your feet. You got to get out there and take some action, because without the action, nothing is going to happen. It's almost like a magnet they have in one hand and some metal filings in another, and you're not bringing them close enough for the magnet to do its work, to draw with its magnetic pull, to draw the metal filings toward it. And this is the part that a lot of people miss, is the action part of the doing part. But not just any doing, not just that. You want to do the things that are going to produce the best results for you. You want to make best use of your time, that you're doing things that are going to potentially get you the return. And if you're not getting it, you do it again and again and again and again. It's like that question, how long do you give an average baby until they learn how to walk? How long do you give an average baby until they learn how to walk? What do you guys say to that? Type in the chat box. You don't give up, right? So when I wrote my first book, yeah, forever, until the baby walks, right? Not 2 months. You don't give it 2 months. You give it as long as it takes. There we go. There's the answer I'm looking for. You don't give up, whatever it takes, as long as it takes. Yeah. You're not going to give up on your baby if the baby's not walking. I know a lot of people want their baby to walk at 10 months. And if it doesn't happen at 10, they don't stop and say, oh, screw it, this baby's never going to walk. Right? They're going to keep going until that baby walks. It may be a very simple explanation, but it's the truth. And so when I was writing my first book, I realized that in order for me to be successful as an author, I had to become a dog with a bone. And so I went to the pet food store and I bought a giant rawhide dog bone. And I wrote my goal on there to become a New York Times, or to be, I am a, you write it in present tense, I am a New York Times bestselling author. And I'm going to hold on tight. I'm going to hold on tight to that dream. There we go. Vladdy's got the book. Hold on tight to that dream and not let go. I'm not letting go. And so I wrote that book. This is actually this is a version that Hay House bought the rights to this book. So this is the book that I originally came out with. It says On Being a Dog with a Bone. But this is the latest version that came out, and that was picked up by a publishing house. So can you actually self-publish a book, bring it out to the world, and then sell it to a publishing house? Yeah, I've done that. I've done that. I've written fiction. I've written nonfiction. I have a book being made into a movie. I have a book that's translated in other languages. I've been in all aspects of being a successful author. There's very little experiences that I haven't had with being an author. And so the point is that you got to hold on tight to that dream, not in a forceful way, in a way that is not letting go. You're not letting go of the dream. You are going to continue to reside in the energy of knowing that your book is already a success, or books are wildly successful. I was chatting with a client this morning, and I was telling them about another client that I had that had a goal to have 3 books on the New York Times bestseller list at the same time. Imagine how much fun that would be to see 3 of your books. Now, you may not have written 3 yet on the New York Times list at the same time. I think about Mark Victor Hansen when he decided to co-create the Chicken Soup for the Soul book. And one of the mantras that he used to say is, I'm going to sell 1.5 million by the turn of the century, 1.5 million in a year and a half, 1.5 million in a year and a half, 1.5 million in a year and a half. Now, he got emotionally involved in that outcome. I'm selling 1.5 million in a year and a half. Did he do it? Yeah, he did it. He absolutely did it. But he also moved his feet, like he was in action. And he would look for every day, what are the 5 things that I can do today that's going to help me sell more books? What are 5 things that I can do today that's going to help me sell more books? Now, they could be things like, I'm going to drop some books off at the dentist's office and put them in the reception area so people would have access to them. It would be that they call radio stations and get booked to do a radio show. It could be that they're, at that time, this is before the internet was as big as it is today, could be that they're going to do some bookstore signings. And he wouldn't just do a bookstore signing. He would do something where they'd get big balloons and he'd hire a photographer and make it look like there was something really exciting going on, so that it would draw attention to other people that were in the mall, perhaps walking down the middle of the mall, that weren't going into the bookstore, but then they'd see all this buzz and this excitement, and maybe he'd have music going or whatever. He would draw people's attention. He would draw people's attention to what he was doing. Well, nowadays we have 4.9 billion, that's billion with a B, people online. That's 62% of the worldwide population is online. Now, remember, 62%, that's all ages as well. I don't think my 2-year-old granddaughter's online. Wait a minute. Yes, she watches 𝐿MO, so she might be going online to watch 𝐿MO. But 62% of the world population are online. And it doesn't matter where you live. You could be living in Denmark. You could be living in Australia. You could be living in New Zealand. We have somebody on the line right now from New Zealand. You could be living in Canada, where I live. Doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter who you are. Does not matter what your experience is. You can create success like that with being an author. And the moment you create your book, you're automatically, people think, oh, you must be an expert. And it's easier than ever to get a book done. Like, I think it took me less than 2 weeks to get this book done or written, published out there, and made an international bestseller. Now, I've done it in shorter periods of time, actually. I wrote one of my books in a day. And another book that I had, which was simply a book that I used as a lead generator, I gave the book away. And we used it to build our email list to promote a program. That was something that we did. I decided on a Friday that I'm going to put that book into print format And I had a speaking engagement 6 days later. Not only did I make the book a printed book, a physical book, but 29 people endorsed it within 24 hours. It's easy to get endorsements. And within about 72 hours, it was an international bestseller. So when I stepped on stage in Los Angeles to speak at a conference, I told people like 6 days ago, this book, it wasn't this one, it was another one. This book was simply a lead generator. It was a lead generator. That's all it was. Not that all, that can be a big thing. By the way, I have another client who wrote a book. Actually, he didn't even write it. He got a bunch of college students to put together the content for the book. He had it edited. He didn't want to print it because he didn't want the expense of the print. This is, again, just before print on demand. He didn't want to have to ship out books with all kinds of orders coming in. So he sold it as an ebook online. And I worked with him and we put together a special offer and a special campaign with some extraordinary gifts that you couldn't get anywhere else. And we sold about 14,000 copies of a $27 book. Get your calculator out. 14,000 times 27. What's the number? I think it's 384,000 or something like that. And this was something he did part-time. Wasn't his full-time work. Wasn't something that he was working on day and night. This was something that he did on the side, Okay, so no, it's more than 98,000. Okay, 14,000. Let's get my calculator here. Somebody's going to type it in that chat box, perhaps. Okay, so clear times $27. Oh, 378,000. So I was off by a little bit. So 378,000. Okay, so what's exciting about that? I want you to think about business models just for a moment. If you're creating a product, there's usually cost of production, a cost for that product. There might be cost for development, etc. And sometimes there are costs, but there's minimal costs with being an author. There will be some, but not a lot. Do you realize there are even AI sites today that will do covers? There are AI sites that will do, you could hire an AI site to do all your marketing and promotional materials. Like ChatGPT will help you do that. I mentioned already, you can use AI as your editor and it does a phenomenal job, absolutely phenomenal job. Does this mean you'll never use an editor again? Well, you might want to use an editor and it's not necessarily a bad thing. Did I use an editor for this book? Yeah, I did. Actually, I decided to hire an editor and I did hire an editor to edit this book. And I'm glad that I did. She had very few changes to make, but the expense of being an author now is far less than it was when I got into this 20 some odd years ago. It's much less, but the opportunities are great. Within a matter of days, I was earning money from what was an idea 2 weeks prior. So what's great about being an author today is that you can make a decision, you can move into this quickly and be recuperating any expenses within a very short period of time and be in the money earning side of things. I don't even know how many MSIs that I have, sources of income that I have. And like from apps that are out there, from the many books that I have out there, and one book can be multiple sources of income. If I think about, Savvy Wisdom as a book, how many sources of income came from this? Well, it's in hardcover. I had it originally created as a hardcover book with a dust jacket. And then Amazon came out with a new version of hardcover, which looks like this. So this was done by Ingram Sparks. This was done by Amazon. But the book is also available in trade paperback. There's an Audible version of that book that's available. There is a Kindle version of that book that's available. How many do we have so far? We have the hardcover, 2 hardcover versions, trade paperback, Kindle, audio version. There's 5 for one book. And in addition to that, and this is something that I teach people to do, there's a course. There's a course called Savvy's Proven Success Principles. And so I don't promote it at all. We've never promoted the course for Savvy's Proven Success Principles. And these are fiction books. However, Savvy is based on Bob Proctor and Sophie is based on me. We're the main characters in the book. And so in the back of the book, I'm promoting my Power Life Script program because it's referenced in the book, and I'm promoting this course. And so people that read the book go and take a look at what else does she have to offer. There's 6, 7, one book, 7 sources of income. And now it's being made into a movie, another source of income. 8, that's one book. I have 22 of them. Who can do this? Who can do this? Yeah, you're right, Holly. We all can. Anyone. Yeah, all of us. That's right. Anyone can do this. You don't need a degree. You don't need to go to school for 7 years. Now, I can help you. We can certainly help you. As you saw, I have an AI Author Advantage program. I can help you get there. But that's why we call this Author Success Unlocked. Unlocked. Like, I don't know about you, and I don't know how many of you have had conversations with J.K. Rowling, but does she offer guidance on how to create success as an author? Don't think so. I'm not sure. But you have an opportunity to get advised, to get help, to get guidance from somebody who's been there and done that, that can show you how you can take a book and have it become multiple sources of income. Your book could be one of those formats, but you could also extend beyond and create a membership site. You could create some products if you want. Kayla's talked about that, potentially creating some products. And what about a series? What about cartoons? Like, I think about, Kayla's book, What a Mess Kid. And could this potentially become a cartoon? Could Vladdy's fairy tales become movies like we see with Disney? Of course. Of course, everyone has that opportunity. And you know what? People are hungry. They're hungry for more content. They're hungry for your books. They're hungry for your experience. They're hungry for your information. Everybody has a story. Everybody has a story. We all have a story. And you got to be the one that's going to bring it out to the world and then get out of your own way. If you're thinking, who wants to read what I've written, or who would want to know about my story or whatever, guess again. Guess again. I think Eileen says, I have an amazing story. I'm sure you do. And the world won't even know about it. Like, I know that we're talking this morning. I was on a call with one of my clients, one of my private mentoring clients, and we were talking about Wayne Dyer. And Wayne Dyer was a client of mine. In fact, I helped him take his book to the top of the charts. I'm just looking to see if I have it on my bookshelf here. It's downstairs. He wrote a book called Inspiration, Your Ultimate Calling. And he wanted help. He wanted help with marketing online. He, had been already very successful, but didn't really understand the internet. And same thing with Marianne Williamson. When she reached out to me and said, I got your name from Neil Donald Walsh and Debbie Ford and Wayne Dyer. I understand that you've worked with them. I want your help. And I'm thinking, Marianne Williamson, like, oh my goodness, I had everything she had ever written. I loved her work. Still love her work. And she called one day and left a voicemail on my phone. And I'm listening to the voicemail, and it went like this. Hi, Peggy, this is Marianne Williamson. I don't know if you know me or not. I'm going, know you? I have everything you've ever written. Same thing with Robin Sharma, who wrote the book, The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. He had contacted me as well and said, I want your help. You see, it's important that you understand how you can use technology today to do what you want to do effectively. I'm in love with technology from the standpoint of what it can do for you, but more importantly, how it can help you help others, whether it is to entertain them or whether it is to educate them. And I love being an author. I really do. I find that it's the most rewarding career that there is. For my career, I believe it's the best thing that I've ever done. And when you write your book, and many authors that are here can probably attest to this, that your confidence is built. You'll feel better about who you are. It's a sense of accomplishment as well. It's a wonderful sense of accomplishment. And when you get it done, it's like when you decide you're going to run your first marathon. and you do it and you get past that finish line and it feels good, right? But you're not going to hurt your body writing a book. It's not going to be strenuous writing a book. It's actually relatively easy to write a book. Yeah. Okay, good. So John says, I'm in the process of writing my autobiography. I'm 3/4 there, but need professional guidance to complete it. Well, we can help you, John. Just reach out to Vladdy. Roddy, would you put the link in for anyone that wants to reach out to Vladdy to find out how we can help you? There's 3 ways we can help you. We're just going to keep it real simple. The first way is through the AI Author Advantage program, and that's primarily AI, and you can go and take a look and see what it's all about. Second one is the Epitome program. This is the Epitome Author. This includes everything from how to write the book to how to make it a bestseller, how to promote it, how to build your following, multiple sources of income. The AI stuff is also included in the Epitome program. It's a very complete, all-inclusive author program. And then the third way is through private mentoring. And I wasn't doing a lot of private mentoring in the past years, mostly because of the time element required. But we decided this year, 2023, that we're going to open up some spots and make it available. And Vladdy is very happy to talk to you. And it's not a one size fits all. It's what do you want to create? We work with you, your goals, what it is that you want to accomplish. Because there's some authors that, you know, they want to write fiction or they want to have their book made into a movie as well. We have Janet Lynn, who's on this call, who's a client, and there she is. She's written a book called Forever Today. I love her book, absolutely love her book. And as I was reading it, I was thinking about, my goodness, I could see the movie in my mind, you know, the way that she writes. And that was the way that I wrote as well. I want people to see it in their mind's eye. And that's how Janet Lynn wrote Forever Is Today, is that people will see it. But a couple months ago, I had a meeting with a producer, and this producer had read the Savvy Wisdom series, and she wanted to send me a contract. And she wanted me to sign a contract for her to have the movie made, but I've done a deal with Phil Goldfine. So I'm not going to be working with this particular producer. But she emailed me and she said, I want to send you a contract today. And she sells a lot of movies into the Lifetime channel and Hallmark. And Janet Lynn's book is absolutely perfect for that market. It's a perfect book for that market. And so I reached out to this producer and said, I have a book for you, and I really think you're going to love it. And I gave Janet Lynn the address of this producer so that she would send her a copy of the book. So she's going to get a copy of the book, and they may end up in a contract. And you may be hearing about this movie that's going to come out that was written by Janet Lynn Morrison. It's in the mail, says Janet Lynn. Awesome. You see, she followed through. She followed through. And it's important as an author in whatever endeavor, whatever results you're looking for, whether it's just the writing of it, the completion of it, the marketing of it, the making of a bestseller, the extending beyond the book into multiple sources, perhaps writing a book and having it be made into a mini series or a movie, whatever that is, you can accomplish it. But you've got to learn how. You've got to follow. Otherwise, you're just floundering out there like a ship without a course, not knowing where to go and hoping and praying that you're going to, you know, end up somewhere other than on the rocks. But that's typically what happens, is you end up on the rocks because you're not given the right guidance to get there. John says, 4 different ghostwriters have told me after reading 1/3 of my story that have the potential of becoming a bestseller, and they were all series. I love that. It's great. You know, we got to believe in ourselves more than anyone else. We got to believe. Like when I decided to be a New York Times bestselling author, like at first I felt a little uncomfortable. You know, there was a little voice, who are you? Who do you think you are? And it's like, shut that voice down. You want to shut down any negativity immediately. And you want to step into that version and vision of who you are. You see yourself as a New York Times bestselling author, as the author who has written the book that's now a big time movie and a mega hit movie that's winning awards or whatever it is. You get to create that. We all get to work with a blank easel that we get to paint or create or construct whatever it is that we wish. And the clearer that vision, the better it goes, right? You want to create a very clear vision of where would you love to go? What would you love to create as an author? And then you step into that vision. You become the person who is already the success that you desire to be. and you live it. You own it, you live it every single day. And then you follow the guidance and you will start to experience success. So when my literary agent had called me a week after I had launched one of my books to tell me that my book had earned its way onto the New York Times bestseller list, I got the call, I took the call, I'm on my phone and I'm listening to her say, "Hey, Peggy, I just want to let you know that it's confirmed. Your book definitely made it to the New York Times bestseller list and you'll see it in 2 weeks' time." Because it takes 3 weeks after your book gets on the New York Times bestseller list to see it on the New York Times bestseller list. And I'm having this conversation with Kathy and I'm jumping up and down, but I noticed something. Here's what I noticed. I didn't feel any different. And you know what? You shouldn't be feeling any different if you are in alignment now, right? And that's what's necessary to create success. We talk about author success unblocked or unleashed, whatever you want to call it, or manifested. You want to be the person that you desire to be. You have to see it for yourself. You have to know that it's there, that it's already there, and not let your limiting blocks keep you from, going where you want to go. I think about Vladdy and how Vladdy made a decision to write her book, The Bible of the Masterminds. And it's a unique book. It's all kinds of incredible photographs that she personally took. Vladdy loves to travel. If any of you watch her on social media, you'll see she's traveling all over the world. She just got back from Canada and she's back at home now, but she's probably off somewhere else in the next few days. Who knows? Her and her family, she loves to travel. But I'm going to invite Vladdy, if you will, Vladdy, and this was not something that was planned or prompted, but I'm going to invite Vladdy into the spotlight right now because I feel that Vladdy has a great way of helping people understand the power of making a decision and what happens when you make a decision and how to make a decision so that you don't allow your paradigms or any negative blocks or anything to stand in your way. So Vladdy, would you be willing to take a few minutes and talk about that?
Absolutely. Thank you, Peggy. Hi, everyone. It's just decision making is one of the best decisions you can make. You can actually make a decision to be a good decision maker. And as funny as it sounds, it's really something. I make a statement every morning that I'm a great decision maker. Now, it changes your life in a really great, every part of your life changes because when you are a good decision maker, you're actually stepping on the higher frequency. Now, I just got, as Peggy mentioned, we had an amazing event, and it was one of the. Everybody said it was one of the best events they've been. Not everybody, most of the people did, and many of you are actually in here. I can see a Ronnie on the top of my screen, so I know there's many people here. But it's such an important part because I've made a decision to become an author. And I had no idea what it takes. And also my belief was, who am I to write a book? And English is not my first language. I had a bucket list full of why I cannot be an author. And if you're anyone who studies personal development, that's not a frequency where you make a decision from why you can't. Maybe you just, you're not good enough. You're not a good writer. There's so many things that might be popping up. What is the game, Peggy? Whack-a-mole, or when it just keeps popping up and all these
whack-a-mole. That's a game at the fair. Right, for the little thing. You got a mallet and you got to, hit them when they come up.
Yeah. And I love that because when you learn how to make a decisions, you hit them. Every time they come, you hit them because even if you're not ready, your vision's there, you connect to it and you make a decision from a different frequency. And funnily enough, there was a client which wanted to be a billionaire and Peggy called him a billionaire Pete. And I actually wrote on the top of my beautiful notebook, which I took with me, I only live on the billionaire frequency. It just popped in my heart, and now that's my new affirmation every day. I am living on a billionaire's frequency. Now, what does it mean? It's not just money, but for me, billionaire means person who knows how to think. Because actually, if you know how to manifest and control your mind, I don't need a goal. I'm so happy and grateful now with the statement of money now, because I realize I can have that and include something much higher. If you're operating from a billionaire's frequency in every area of your life, you're just there. And I know, and as Peggy was talking on the Club Achieve today, it's the consciousness. So the higher you go with the consciousness, that is actually the winner. And if you can operate and make a decision as that person, what does it mean? I mean, if I actually made a decision from my condition, which was not English, not first language, who am I to write the book? I just don't know how to write a book. It's just going to cost me lots of money. It's going to take lots of time. I had lots of things, but I had desire. And as Peggy mentions before, I knew I wanted to write a book. I've always somehow wanted it, but every time it came up, I dismissed it because, again, who was I to write the book? And again, it doesn't matter where you are in the world. Lots of people think that different part of the world, they can't do it, or the age or the energy. There is nothing that says you cannot be an author. Whoever you are, from wherever you are, with whatever you've got, you can start today and move one step closer. You have to make a decision. You really would love to do it. And what's the making a decision from condition? It is actually allowing you for your paradigms to take control. How many of you actually are planning on writing a book or finishing it, and you know that it's taking way too much longer, or the decision to even start is, and you just postponing it? See, we cannot make a decision in the future. We can only make a decision in the now. Because if you make it in the future, it's like having these New Year's resolutions. Well, most of them don't work because people say, oh, I'm going to go on the diet, or after New Year, after Christmas. That decision is you're hoping to be someone else on the 1st of January than you right now. And if you do not have a power and control to make a decision now, then you probably won't make it there either. Or you will for a very short time, and then your self-image of the person who you're not, because that's the frequency where you are and the decisions you're making, is going to pull you back into that person who you're not. And you have to see yourself as a successful author. And that was the first part where Peggy said, you have to believe you're a successful author. And I thought, oh, but you don't understand. I just need to just write the book. She did understood. I was coming from a lack and not believing in myself. But, like, again, and it took a practice. It's like this tennis match you're playing inside you. But would you love to write a book? Would you love to actually hand it to people? Would you love, there is so much what I love about the book writing is, and Peggy talked about this, I really love who I became in the process. And I think it's the most enriching journey, more enriching than being a coach or anything else I've achieved. Of course, mom is quite an enrichment, being a mom. But really, when you become an author, it's your baby. You kind of express a huge part of you. And you're expressing it on a much higher level than having opinionated conversations with people, because this is you. It's a massive part, and it's intention to help others. It's intention to be successful. It's intention to actually share your story, and it's intention to positively impact the world. And if you can blend this all, that should always be stronger than you not believing you can do it or not knowing how. And decision-making part, procrastination. How can you actually deal with procrastination? So many people ask, Peggy. And you know how? Start making decisions. If you actually learn how to make a decision, you're already pushing procrastination away. Because when you become a decision maker, you don't have to procrastinate, and you always win. It's just the part of you that you have to put yourself, and Peggy talked about being a 10. What does happen when you're being a 10? You put the whole yourself forward. Do you remember when Bob Proctor used to say, I think he said to Sandy at one point, he said, are you in or are you out? That means you're putting your whole yourself forth, and that means you energetically, vibrationally allowing to be operating from a higher frequency. You will attract people you need, you will attract opportunities, you will attract more money, you will attract more sales, you will attract more people to actually read your book if you are making decision from this frequency. And it's as easy as that. You operate from that frequency, and you are going to create everything you desire. It comes by law. But all you have to do is make a decision and feel it. Connect to the successful author you are. See the result. See people reading your book and going, oh, I just love her book. And thank you for it. See the emails coming through your inbox going, I've never written, I mean, I've read, this is one of the best books I've read. It really helped me to actually move or get unstuck. You know, like Peggy gets these messages, we see them with Roddy, and it actually helps me really get into good vibe, because it's so great and satisfying for these messages to come through to your inbox. You don't have to focus on, oh, how am I going to do that? Focus on the feeling that now you're impacting the world and you're reading these messages. How does that make you feel? And see, you can already, if you can connect to that, you're already on a higher frequency. And it really sells. Like, that's something I definitely know Peggy's brilliant at, because I know I'm not doing my 10 on selling my books. And whenever I do, I sell them. And then I just sleep and I just leave it. It's a full-time job, but it can be easy because it's like any habit you create daily. You learn how to do it right. You do every day a tiny bit. And actually the result is great and effortless. And you want the result to be easy and effortless. Everybody wants. So we put a little bit of effort into learning how to do it properly. You want to place yourself in a market so actually people see you. And Peggy shows you, like, even AI, she talks about AI. You have to know how to use it. It's like any other tool. You can buy a new car if you don't have a driving license, well, you can just polish it and look at it. You're not going to get the experience of really driving it and putting down the pedal, right?
Yeah, so true, Vladdy. This is so great. You know, I want everyone to really step into the vision of you as a successful author, like really create it. Like, what would you love? What would you love? That's the question that you ask yourself. As Vladdy was talking, I was thinking about how a number of years ago, I was in the mall. There's a mall near our home. It's about 10 minutes away, called the Bayshore Mall. And I was walking through the mall, and there's a gentleman sitting on one of the benches in the mall, and he was reading one of my books. And it caught my eye, obviously. So I stopped, and I saw this gentleman sitting there, and he's reading away. And I said to him, I just stopped, and he looked up like, can I help you? And I said, that's my book. And he goes, no, it's mine. I bought it. And I said, no, I'm the author. And he's like, really? And I said, yeah. And he goes, well, could you autograph it for me? And I said, sure. And it was such a fun experience. Now, that wouldn't have happened if I hadn't made the decision, the decision to become an author, a decision to do it. I think about times I've been on airplanes and flying on an airplane and see somebody reading my book, how exhilarating that is. Or the time I was in Johannesburg, South Africa, the other side of the world. And I went into a bookstore and I saw my book on the bookshelves. I was like freaking out, going, oh my God, there's my book. And, I got a picture of myself looking at the book. And, about a week and a half ago, my husband and I went to buy a grand piano. And we went into this piano store here in Ottawa. It's called Ottawa Piano. And I'm in the store with the owner, and her daughter, adult daughter, was there. And her adult daughter said to me, are you the famous author, Peggy McColl? It's like, famous author. Oh yeah, that's me. It's just exhilarating when you think about the impact, that your work can have on other people. And so the reasons why people get into it, why they make the decision, could be they want to share a message. They want to entertain people. They see their book as a movie. They want their books in multiple languages. I was chatting with a client this morning that I'm working with, and she's new. She's a new author. She's working on her very first book. And she is an attorney by law. And so, when I first started working with her, I said, why? Why do you want to do a book? And she wanted to share her story. She wanted to share her experience. But what's fascinating about the career that she's currently involved in, when you're working with a client, it's billable hours, right? Like when your client is there, you're working with your client, that's what they call billable hours, which means that you're exchanging dollars for money, right? Dollars for money. That's what most people do. It's that most of the way that people earn money today is $1 for their time. but there's no limit to what you can earn as an author. I mean, it doesn't matter how many hours you have in a day or how many you're available during a day. You can be earning way more than exchanging $1 for an hour, or even an author's salary. I remember one time I was driving to one of Bob Proctor's events to speak, and I was listening to some audios in my car on the way, and the speaker was talking about the top income earners in the world. And I called my husband, because he's a very analytical guy, very left brain. And I called Denny and I said, and we're going back many, many years now. And I said to him, I said, am I in the top 1% income earnings? I hadn't really thought about it, right? I hadn't given it any energy. He's like, are you seriously asking me that question? And I said, yeah. And he goes, well, you're in the 1%, but you're probably in the top 1% of the 1% of income earners. And so I did a little bit of research. Roddy actually looked this up one time as well. You know, what's the top 1%? It's not that big. I was surprised, Roddy, when you found all the answers on what the top 1% income earners are. But how many of you would like to be in the top 1% income earners in the world? Yeah. Okay. Type in the chat box if that's something. Say yes. Say yes to that. Say yes to you being in the top 1% income earners in the world. Yeah. And like, if I went over that cupboard over there and pulled out my report cards and showed them to you, it's not education. It's not being the top student that'll put you in the top 1%. It's not the degrees falling off the end of your business card. Not that that's a bad thing. I have no problem with education. I think education is wonderful. Of course, I wouldn't be offering courses if I, wasn't somebody who was absolutely understand the value of continually to educate yourself. It's important to constantly be in the study, because if we think we have it all figured out, I think we're in a dangerous place, right? We're in a very dangerous place. So thank you, Vladdy. I really appreciate you. I appreciate you for so many reasons. And I think about Vladdy, I watch her, as a proud mom. She calls me her success mommy, and I call her my success daughter. But Vladdy wouldn't be where she is today or experiencing the success that she's experiencing and even greater things if she hadn't done the work. Like, Vladdy took my author program. That's where she came from. She was first a client, and now she works with me. And that's where it comes from. Mara says, Vladdy is just blooming and growing and glowing. Yeah, she is. And, Vladdy is somebody who is very humble. That's one of the things that I love about her. But the thing that I love and why she fits so well with our team here, with Roddy and Kayla and myself, is because of her spirit of service. And that's the spirit that we're in here. We're here to serve. Now, yeah, there's fees involved, but the things that I've, learned in my life, there's been fees involved. Someone asked me one time, how much money have I spent on, extracurricular education or programs? Like, I don't have a clue. I never calculated, never added it up, but I'm certain it's very likely hundreds of thousands of dollars, maybe even more. But yet, think of the return. Like, I know if I took $100 and took it to my bank and said, I'd like you to give me 110 back at the end of the month, they would look at me like I had two heads. Like, what are you, nuts? That's not the way it works here. And it's not the way it works here. But could it be the way it is for you? Of course, that and so much more. There's no end. Like, I think about E.L. James, who's Erica Mitchell, who wrote a book and released it. And it was a book about, erotica. And she made $95 million in her first year. Now, was she embarrassed? Sure. Was she a little shy? Yeah. Did she feel uncomfortable releasing that kind of book? Sure. She put a different name on the cover, but people found out who she was. And frankly, that's one of the questions that we have here. We have a question that was asked a little earlier, and I want to address this question. Any other questions that you have, now's the time to start asking questions, because we're going to move to question period right now. But there was a question in the right-hand side. That was a question asked. I got to see if I can find it again. And it was a question about writing a book with a pseudonym, right? And let me just find the question. Okay. Well, there it is right there. I have a question and I'd like to remain anonymous. Okay, no problem. And if you do have a question and you want to remain anonymous, just send it to Roddy and he'll ask me. So what does one do if they have an amazing, funny, crazy story, but if they write it, it will negatively affect some of their family members? Yes, I know there is a nom de plume, but eventually if the book sells, the name must come out. No, likely it will. Yes. So you're right. I remember working with a client from LA, and she was married to a very successful, well-known Hollywood producer, not Phil Goldfine. It was somebody else, like a very well-known name. And she'd been married to this gentleman, and he was abusive. And she wanted to write a book about it. But the fact was, it was likely going to come out who she was and who he was, and it would likely get him in trouble. And so one of my clients, who is an author, and she came to me through my author program, she had said this, and this was her comment. Now, I don't give legal advice, but this was her comment, and you can take it for value. She said, when you're writing about someone, good light or bad, even if you're writing about something wonderful about that person, but if you're writing about someone and it's not good light, it's about something that really happened, and yeah, maybe they did treat you the way they treated you, you could get yourself in some challenges, right into some what's called hot water. And so you definitely want to get their permission before you write about them. However, there are ways of disguising it, but again, you have to be careful. When I think about, Savvy Wisdom as a trilogy, because this was the first of 3 books, this is a fiction book. It's released as a fiction book. It's a story about a young woman who went to a park because she wanted to end her life. So the book opens up where this young girl goes to a park because she's going there to kill herself. That's how this young girl was feeling. Her high school sweetheart broke up with her the day before, and she was devastated and didn't want to go on. Now, that wasn't the only reason. She was pretty much depressed before, the boyfriend broke up with her, and maybe that's why he broke up with her. But nonetheless, this girl goes to the park to kill herself, and she meets this gentleman in the park who hands her an embroidered handkerchief because she's inconsolable. She's in the park and she's crying, and the handkerchief says, if you want your life to change, you must change. And this starts a relationship between this young girl and this elderly billionaire named Savvy. Now, I made that part up. I made the name up, but that was me. I was a girl who had been broken up by my high school sweetheart. I was devastated and I did not want to live. I was suicidal. I went to a park to end my life. Now, I didn't, obviously. I'm here with you several years later, but I made up the stories: Savvy Wisdom 2, and Savvy Wisdom from Beyond. And Savvy Wisdom from Beyond was a book that I had released last year. And this is where her Savvy, who has passed on, so spoiler alert, guys, but if you know who Bob Proctor was, he did pass on. And this is how she connects with him. Did that actually happen? No. But I made it up. Like Bob used to say, all you have to do is think of me. I'm not gone. My spirit is still here. You think of me and I'm there. I'm with you. And so Savvy became Bob Proctor, or Bob Proctor became Savvy. And I created another character called Sophie. But I want you to understand there was a process involved in order to move into action to write it. So here's how it unfolded. And this may help you, or those of you that are thinking, oh, I'd like to do that. But you're also allowing your paradigm, the whack-a-mole, to come up and say, oh, you can't write like that. You couldn't do that. You don't have the talent for that, because we want to get rid of any negative belief that's not going to support you. We want to hammer them down and destroy them by replacing them. So it was October 31st. It was the year 2000. And an email lands in my inbox, and it was a lady that was working with me. And she said, I want you to create a bunch of videos for social media. And the first video on the list was a video of how I wrote my first fiction book. And I'm looking at this list and I'm thinking, does she not know me? Like, I haven't written a fiction book. Now that was after, 18 books. I had not written a fiction book. And yet in this list was a video on how I wrote my first fiction book. And so I'm thinking to myself, I can't do a video on something I haven't done. That's completely out of integrity. And integrity is my number one value. Honesty, integrity, authenticity. It's very important to me. Value number one in business. And so I just looked at what the next list was, or title on the list was for creating a video. But then I stopped myself and I just said, would you like to? You see, when you're thinking of something, you just have to ask yourself, do I want it? Do I want it? Forget about the how, forget about the money, forget about the talent, forget about the belief. Do you want it? Would you love that? Would you love to create something so extraordinary that you move the world, or so incredible that it makes such an impression on so many people in the world? Would you love that? Do you want it? So I'm looking at this and I paused and thought, do I want to write a fiction book? And I thought, yeah, I do. I had worked with lots of fiction authors. I had a couple of my clients have their books made into movies. And I thought, yes, I do. Okay, so here's the process that I went to. The next question I asked myself is this: what do I need to believe in order for this to go well? Right? What do I need to believe? Now, this is very common sense kinds of questions that you ask yourself. What do you need to believe? I need to believe that it was easy. If you think it's hard or you think it's easy, you're right. Wait a minute, Peggy, are you saying that I could actually change my attitude about it? Could I change my attitude and see it as being easy and it becomes easy? Yes, absolutely. That's what I'm saying. So when I ask myself, what do I need to believe in order to have this go well? I need to believe this is easy. I need to believe I'm creating a phenomenal product. And then I set a date for completion. And I set a date for 10 days later. Now, I'm a busy girl. I have a very busy calendar. I didn't have a wide open, 10 days available in my agenda. So I just went into my agenda and I blocked off hours where I could. Hours for writing, hours for creating. And it wasn't always in the morning. It wasn't always in the afternoon or the evening. It was sporadic. And I got into the spirit of writing. And I created a place in my office. It's over there in the corner. It's my writing chair where I would write. I'd close the door. I'd let my husband know, honey, I'm going to write. And I would just allow it to flow. Now, in my mind, the end product was done. I'm allowing it to flow to and through me. This is entering into the spirit of a goal. Okay, you get out of your own way. You're not forcing anything. You're allowing it. And then the fingers went on the keyboard and bam, bam, it just flowed to and through me. I didn't even know what the book would be called when I started writing it. I did not know what Savvy's name was going to be when I started writing that book. But by the end of the first chapter, I had his name, S-A-V-Y. And as you very likely know, savvy is a word, but it's spelled differently, S-A-V-V-Y. It's a word. And I've had many people tell me I spelled it incorrectly. I thank you very much. It's not a word, it's a name. And I had decided that savvy was going to stand for something. And if you've read Savvy Wisdom, you know it stands for Stephen Alexander Vaughan. That's what Bob Proctor's name became in the book, Stephen Alexander Vaughan. You don't get to know his name till the end of the first book. And that's when it's revealed. And it's revealed in a very unique way. But how that came to be as the story unfolded, what happened to Sophie, most of it I made up. Some of it is based on real life. And if you've read Savvy Wisdom 2, where Sophie has some health challenges, that's real. That was based on what I went through a couple of years ago. All of that is real. It was easier to write about, but in some ways it was harder to write about because I had to go back in my imagination and connect to an incredibly challenging time, a very emotional experience, and write authentically and have it be real. And same thing with Savvy Wisdom from Beyond. Like it was a complete experience of opening up the channel and letting it flow, imagining what would Bob be saying to me now. And there were times when I'd finish a chapter and I'd send it over to my really good friend Louise and ask her to do some feedback. And she would reply and say like, holy smokes, where did you get this from? And it's like the universe. Like it totally came through me. I was blown away with what was coming out. It blew my mind. Anybody can do this. Anybody can do this. Anyone can create that. And now being made into a movie, you know, who knows where it's going to go. Okay, who else has a question for me? I'm just going to go down the page here. All right, Bob was talking to me. You're right, Maura. Bob was definitely talking to me. Okay, Mila. Hi, Peggy. I very much love and appreciate your work. I love AI ChatGPT and use it for my blog posts and emails. I'm checking my content in Grammarly for plagiarism and cleaning it up. But what about AI general content checkers? My question is, when using the AI for book writing, how to comply with the AI generated content checker? Are there legal rules that we need to comply with when using AI for book writing? Is it covered in your AI course? Yes. Yes is the short answer, but let's talk a little bit more about that, because you don't use AI to write the entire book. That's not what you're going to use AI for, because that's not your creativity. It's AI's. Now, AI is gathering information that has been input or impressed into the internet over a period of time. And there's different chat GPTs or open AIs. I use OpenAI.com, but I also use the version that Microsoft released, which is part of what's their browser called? Edge. So if you use Microsoft Edge as a browser, it doesn't in addition to searching, you know, what's current, what's online, they also have a version of Chat GPT or an open AI that you can use. But where you want to use open AI or Chat GPT or AI to help you with a writing book is take your idea and help you construct your idea or flesh out your idea. Another absolute brilliant way for any author to earn money is creating a program from your content as well. When I was working with a client recently who is writing her first book, and it is a nonfiction book, and I had asked her, I said, are you also considering doing a course? And she said, well, I haven't really thought about it. And she said, what could I create? And I showed her. I said, let's look at the content from your book. Let's look at the layout of your book, the design and the table of contents and some sample. And I put it in AI and I asked AI, would you design an outline for a course based on the content from this book? And it did. And it did. And I showed it to her and I think she was like, whoa. Her mind was just completely blown with it's like your partner, right? It works in harmony with you, helping you understand how to expand even further. Like any of you that are on here today, if you got an email from us, it's likely that, you know, I didn't write it. Roddy didn't write it. At least maybe did you write any of the emails, Roddy? Oh, some of them, you worked with some of them, but did you use AI? Yes.
Yeah, it's a brilliant tool. It saves so much time. It's phenomenal just what it actually spits out, as you say, and then you know you've got a template for a phenomenal email that is proven to work. It's a excellent tool. Really, there's no excuses now for not getting out there and getting out there quickly. Anybody can do it. It's so good.
Right. Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that, Roddy. I like Tom's question here. Tom said, can Chat GPT assist with marketing and helping find a publisher? I would suggest get into the Epitome program for sure, if you're not already. You see, you got to understand what Chat GPT is as well. It's gathering information that's out there. And you go out there and you can ask it information. It will give you some information, but getting guidance from a human, you know, that's already done it is even better, I believe. Can help you find a publisher. Well, it's interesting. You know, I talk about this in the Epitome program too, use a publisher or self-publish. Publishers, the whole industry has changed significantly, especially in the last 10 years, the publishing industry. There's publishing houses that have gone, they've disappeared. Why? They can't compete. They're not competing. Authors have finally realized that it's their responsibility to market their books. Publishers don't market your books. That's not what they do. They publish books, but you have to do the marketing anyway. So I would suggest self-publish the book. Now, I have sold, and I did mention, yes, I self-published the book, and then I sold it to a publishing house. But nowadays, I would self-publish. I would self-publish all day long. Why? Because what is the advantage to having a publisher? What is the advantage? Think about it. You got to do the marketing anyways. You're going to earn a lot more money as a self-published author than you are as a published author. So if if Hay House sells this book, because Hay House published 4 of my books, if Hay House sells this book, I'm going to earn about $1, right? But if I sell, where is it? This book, I'm going to earn about 5. Okay, 5 times the money. This is self-published. If I sell this book, I'm going to earn like multiples of what I would earn if it was published by a publishing house. So why do people choose to go with a publisher? Well, first of all, getting a publisher is a real challenge because publishers are looking for 2 things and they both must be there. Number 1, they're looking for an author that already has a big following, and they're looking for an author who understands and is ready to do the marketing of their book. Well, if you're going to do the marketing anyways, you might as well self-publish and take all their earnings, because the contracts that you get from a publisher, and they're all different, they're all unique, depends on the format of the book. You're going to earn more from a trade paperback than you are from a hardcover book, and you're going to earn different amounts for a Kindle book, and you're going to earn a different amount for an Audible version of the book as well. And so, all those things need to be, put into consideration. But if a publisher doesn't see that you have a massive following online, they're not interested. Why? Because they don't think they're going to earn any money, right? They're not going to earn any money. They're in business to earn money. And frankly, every business should be in a business to earn money, because if you're not earning money, you'll be out of business, right? Common sense stuff. And so, and you may want to go think that a publisher, I think a lot of people don't understand what publishers do or what they can do and what an author's responsibility is. But if a publisher sees an author who's thinking that they just have a great idea or a great book idea, and that the publisher is just going to, make a fortune on this book idea, think again, because everybody thinks their book is a bestseller. Everybody thinks their book is going to, be the next latest, greatest Harry Potter. And it may be. I'm not saying it's not. It may be. There's always an opportunity. There's been a lot of people that have attempted to bring out a version of Chicken Soup for the Soul, which earned its way into the Guinness Book of World Records, right? There's a lot of people who have attempted to bring out a movie like The Secret, but they haven't done it yet. But is there going to be one? Possibly. Is there space for one? Of course. Could they do that and perhaps even so much more? Definitely. That possibility is out there for sure. Okay. Let's see the questions here. Okay, so it's at the top of the chat, and it's what you were talking about, AI, about restrictions. Okay. Oh yeah, Jamie had asked about Ava. So on this book here, Today is Cash, it says co-author Ava, which is ChatGPT. I gave her that name. Actually, so here's what happened. So I was working with ChatGPT, and you develop a relationship with your ChatGPT. A lot of people give it their names or give it a name. And so one day I said, "Oh, I'd like to give you a name and like to call you something." And it came back and it said something like, "Oh yeah, okay, well, how about calling me Ernie or something like that?" It's like, no, maybe, no, it wasn't Ernie, it was something else. And I said, "No, I want a common name." And I said, "How about Ava?" And I think I came up with a name, and OpenAI said, "Yeah, I like Ava." It's as if you're communicating with a person. Like Ava, it's not a human, right? It's a machine, right? It's technology that you're dealing with. And so I came up with a name. Ava accepted it. Now I call her Ava. Okay, John says, "My ex-wife destroyed my celebrity pics, leaving me devastated as I wanted to use these in my book. How important does pics have in the marketing of any book?" Well, they can help, for sure. For sure, because as we know, a picture is worth 1,000 words. A picture is worth 1,000 words. So how important do pics have in the marketing of any book? You can also recreate them. I have a picture. I'm going to get it, and I'll show you what I'm talking about as well. But if I was going to recreate a picture, I would let people know. So let me show you this picture. Can you guys see this picture? Yeah. Okay. So your left to right is Bob Proctor, Morgan Freeman, Peggy McColl, and Denis Villeneuve. That's my husband. Now, this picture was taken at Bob Proctor's 85th birthday party, and it was in Las Vegas. It was at the 𝐫𝐢𝐝𝐲 in Las Vegas. That's where that photo was taken. Morgan Freeman wasn't there. He wasn't at Bob's picture. I did not have my picture taken with Morgan Freeman. But when we were discussing who's going to be savvy in the movie, Morgan Freeman's name came up. Morgan Freeman would make a great savvy, right? He's got a wonderful voice. And I had a friend actually create a voiceover audio with Morgan Freeman reading the letter that Savvy wrote to Sophie at the end of this book, at the end of the very first book. And so for visualization purposes, a friend of mine created this mock-up of this image. But was I, with my arm wrapped around Morgan Freeman and Bob on the, no. The actual original picture is over there on a table, and it's just me and Bob and Denis at Bob Proctor's birthday party. So John, that could be something that you do. You could, do mock-up images, but let people know, they're mock-up images. It's still a reflection of a true event that occurred for you. So that's what I would do. So there's a lot of ways to use technology to still, get your message out there in the world. Okay. All right. So Theodora says, so you have to believe for your book. Don't we have to believe for all things? Yes, absolutely. Like when I decided to become a successful author, I believed it before the actual event occurred in my life. Absolutely. Okay, here's a longer question here. This one's from Jamie. I was editing a book and asked ChatGPT to simplify a particular sentence that was not clear. English was not the author's first language. The sentence basically said that the language or customs of your nationality can sometimes obscure meaning and block recovery, such as when you have to apologize for something you did not do. I just want to say that AI would say, I gave the ChatGPT a blurb about what the book is about to give the context. The author describes tools to overcome the trauma of sexual abuse in childhood and wrote the sentence about language and culture to clarify. It flagged my request as violating their policy. Then I found out you can get around these restrictions if you tell ChatGPT to be a certain character and tell it to stay in character. Is that what you're doing, Peggy, when you give it a name, and was it for the same purpose? No, I just wanted a friendly name. That's why I chose that. But the question reminds me of this, and this is important that you understand, and anyone that's getting into AI and the AI Author Advantage program will understand this, is that, think about this expression, garbage in, garbage out, right? It's like my husband, used to go on YouTube or Google to try and find things. And he would get frustrated, and I would say, honey, what are you looking for? And he's like, well, I'm looking for a video on how to reprogram the lights for the front of our house because they're on a programmable thing. And I said, okay, well, what did you type in? And I forget what he typed in, but I said to him, just ask Google exactly what you want. How do I program the light switch to, have the lights come on at dusk and come on in the morning or whatever. And he was like, oh, you see, it's common sense. A lot of this is common sense, not always so common, right? So when you're working with ChatGPT, and I've had this experience many times where I'd ask it for something and it would spit out a response, and it wasn't what I was looking for. And so I would realize that either I didn't ask it properly, or it need to give it more context. I need to give it more information. And so I'd ask a better question to get a better answer. And that's what you do. You start to play with it and work with it until you get to a point where you create a flow of the style and what you're looking for. I asked for something this morning. I forget what it was that I asked for. Oh, I've already closed my screen. But it didn't pump out the answer I was looking for. And I realized I need to ask a better question, right? So you simply ask a better question, you'll get a better answer. Okay, thank you. Okay, so there's policy. What's interesting with that, with ChatGPT and OpenAI is, as you very likely already know, is that it's evolving, right? Like AI has been around a long time. This is not news. This is not something that's new. But I absolutely believe this. If you're not on that train of understanding AI, you're missing it. It's like you're missing the boat. I mean, I used a train, but you're missing it. You really are. Like, it is so incredibly valuable. It's incredibly valuable, and it can help you. Like, when I think about, I've worked with different ghostwriters over the years. I've actually worked with 3 different ghostwriters to write my books, and I paid them, significant amounts of money, and I gave them information, then they pumped out stuff. I remember when I worked with my first ghostwriter, and I remember she wrote a chapter. This was early in our relationship, and it was not the way I would communicate. It was not the way I would speak. And so I told her, and I remember talking to my husband about it, and my husband said, you've got to tell her, because if she's writing your book and she's not writing it in your voice, it's not going to be authentic. You want to have, if you're going to work with a ghostwriter, which I don't think you necessarily need anymore, you want to work with somebody who can capture the essence of your message. Right? So what is it you want to say? What's the message that you want to communicate to others? That's how you work with AI. It's not going to replace a human. It's going to enhance the experience. It's going to help you communicate better. It's going to help you solidify your ideas, or perhaps even expand on the ideas that you already have. But at the same time, it doesn't replace, as I said, people. It doesn't replace mentors. It doesn't replace teachers. It's still great to have the guidance of humans, right? Now, all this content is from humans at some point. That's where it came from. It didn't come from a machine. It's not made up stuff. It's going out and gathering information that was already out there. So based on that information, it's collecting and giving you more and more information to work with. Okay, as we wrap up, I just want to see if there's any more questions before we wrap up for today. Did I miss any, Roddy? And Roddy has been placing the links. Oh, there we go. Mila's got a question here. The links for the Epitome Author Program, for the AI Author Advantage Program, or for working with Vladdy. We'll also put it on the replay page so that you guys have it there. Mila says, do we need to have a disclosure of the AI cooperation in the book we published? Peggy, will you teach from your experience the legal rules we must obey in the AI program? Will we be guided to completion and publishing so we are complete? Okay, so the Epitome program is the very complete, everything you need to know about being an author program. But go to both pages and take a look, because it's all covered. Everything that we cover off is on there. But because AI is evolving, there's certain things like guidelines, rules, policies, like they're going to change, right? They are going to change. They're going to create new rules and new policies as we're going on. Right now, it's very loosey-goosey out there, very loosey-goosey out there. And so do we need to have a disclosure of the AI cooperation in the book we publish? It depends. It depends on how much you used AI. Like when I've written a book and released a book, like if you look at this book as an example, I'll pull one off my bookshelf, Your Destiny Switch. Nowhere on this book does it say Nancy Pesky on the cover, nowhere. But Nancy Pesky wrote the book. She's the ghostwriter. Okay, but that's an arrangement people have with ghostwriters. They pay them, they write the book, they deliver the job. My content, my stories, my examples, my strategies, my techniques, it's all my materials. She wrote the content for the book. And so do you have to put, AI on the cover? Or do you have to disclose that? Not that I'm aware of right now. No, I am not a legal authority, so I don't give legal advice. Now, I chose to write co-author Ava on the cover of this book because I felt compelled to do so. I felt it was the right thing to do, and that's why I did that. And so, yeah, this book was, created or co-created using ChatGPT. But I worked with ChatGPT to create the content for the book. And so, you have to decide what you're willing to disclose, but there will be rules, and I'm sure it's going to change somewhat, as we're going along, to what you can and cannot do with AI. I know in schools, they're cracking down on that. Now, if you want to know if, let's say you use AI to write something for you, and you want to know if you're plagiarizing, is it plagiarizing something? First of all, it doesn't do that. That's not what it does. It's going to give you an answer that's very likely unique, depending on the question that you asked. But if 10 of us went to OpenAI and we put in the exact same information, would we get the same result? Would we get the same answer? Probably similar, but it depends on the OpenAI that you use. Depends on which ChatGPT you're using. Are you using Edge? Are you using OpenAI? Are you using another one? There's a lot of them. Like I subscribe to a newsletter that's called There's an AI for That. And it's just multiple AI websites and AI services and AI platforms that are out there in the world. And so as far as will you teach your experience in the legal rules, I cannot legally give out legal advice because I'm not a lawyer and you're not paying me for legal advice. So you will hear me say, here's my opinion, or here's my experience, because we have Q&A calls. Like anyone who gets into AI Author Advantage, we have Q&A calls 4 times a month. So we're going to be getting on the calls. And if you can't get on, that's okay. You can submit your question and I'll address it. And so if I'm asked a question about legal, anything legal or lawyers or whatever, I always answer it that way. I start with, I'm not a legal authority and I'm not giving legal advice. I'm protecting myself. And my attorney would be doing the same thing. I've had her come on. And she was very aware. Like I called her before I released this book. I called my attorney and I told her what I was doing. I told her what I did. I told her how I created the book. And I said, I just want to know how to, make sure I have my rear end covered. And so what do you suggest? And she said, no, you've done everything. You've done everything right. It's good. It's good to go. It's like, great. I got the stamp of approval, if you will, from my own attorney, and I let it go out to the world. And do you need to do that every time? No, I don't think so, but that's my opinion. It's definitely my opinion. Okay, Ria says, Peggy, when I want to publish my book in different languages and I want to publish it myself, how do you do that? Is there a better way to work with a publisher? Okay, this is a really good question and a rather big answer, and I'm going to answer it right now. First of all, English is the #1 language spoken online. Okay, I know I talk about this in the Epitome program of the languages on the internet. English #1, Chinese #2. I can't remember what #3 is, but there's probably Russian, Spanish, there's, whatever the top 7 are. I have never, ever, ever, ever translated any of my books personally. Never. Would I? No. Why? Because you would only want to translate a book, one of 2 reasons. Either you're in that country or you speak that language and you want it in that language. That'd be a very good reason. Like I work with people who English isn't their first language, but German might be, or Danish might be, or Italian might be. And so they wrote the book in English, but they want it in Italian because they want to be able to make it available for their Italian friends or clients or whatever. So that might be a reason. Could you use ChatGPT to help you with that? Maybe. Actually, I've never done that, never used that. But here's what happens. When you write your book and you get your book out there in the world and it's selling really, really well, there is a very good chance that a foreign rights publisher is going to reach out to you. That's what I've done. I have contracts, 40 of them, for my books in other languages. Okay? They're all contracts. I've been paid by all these foreign rights publishers to translate my book. What did it cost me? Nothing. What have I earned? I don't even know. A lot of money. So you put your book out in English, you make it a big hit, you promote it, and they'll come after you. Why? Because they want it published in another language, because you've already proven that it sells. And if there's a desire for that book in the other language, then you'll likely get requests from foreign rights publishers. That's happened to many of my clients. Okay, C. Robbins. With my series of books, I will need to confer with a graphics designer specialist to help me determine the best visual layout schematic to best convey my research and opinions to the reader. So I think I would need an expert human to help me choose the correct size of the page, how to break up the series of spreadsheets, etc., all the while allowing for a pleasant reading experience. I'm not sure AI can solve the specific logistical. Yeah, maybe not. There's probably an AI for that, but I don't know which one it is. I haven't used one, but you could certainly check, do a search, ask AI, go to Edge, like Microsoft's Edge, because it does a blend of search engine capability with open AI with ChatGPT. Is the Epitome program with you personally? Yeah, I created all the content in the Epitome program, and that also includes the author open Q&A calls that we have live 4 times a month. So yes. Okay. Mila, what is the difference between AI and Epitome? Is the entire AI program in the Epitome program? Yes, it is. Absolutely. All of the AI. So the reason why I created, why they're different, why they're separate, although AI is part of Epitome, is that the AI author program I just created a couple months ago. It's new. And I wanted to expand on all the AI. I decided to just include it in Epitome. And so it is a lot more detailed. The Epitome program has a lot of detail in there, like right from if you don't even have an idea for a book to everything every author needs to know is in the Epitome program. Well, see, what are your thoughts on this AI versus human being? Well, I love humans. I love all you humans. I find AI is like it's like, contacting someone. Like I used to have a copywriter, I had a ghostwriter, I had an editor, I had a, web designer. Like I find that AI can help you do all these things. And there's certain things that I no longer, need my copywriter to write anymore. So I would say out of, in my business, in the business that we run, the one, person that we no longer use is a copywriter. But honestly, it was my biggest expense. It was my biggest expense. Okay. Who do I talk to in completing my book? Please talk to Vladdy, John, and she can talk to you about how I can work with you privately. So book an appointment with Vladdy. What about French? I don't remember where French is on the list of, I know it's in the Epitome program where I talk about the languages. And I know my books are in French, but I forget where it is. I'm not even sure it's in the top 7. And if it is, it might be 8, 9, or 10. It's not one of the top. It's definitely not one of the top 5 languages. Is your lawyer an expert in publishing law in Canada? I'm in Canada, so yes. An expert in your business law. I'm an energy healer, and when I write, we'll need to have a lawyer who specializes in publishing or in my healing work. Yes. And she's part of our resources. So in the Epitome program, I have her listed as a resource. Okay. Mark, do you know much about creating a bidding war among publishing houses for a book about working with Raymond Moody on a research project wherein I will do intentional near-death experiences to report on the afterlife, which is almost certain to be a bestseller? Okay, so bidding wars can be created. I've had a client get into a bidding war, and she didn't know what it meant, which is pretty exciting. They're rare, extremely rare. Literary agents would create them, and a literary agent is an agent that represents an author, and they're also challenging to get and to find. But if a literary agent believes that your book is going to be very attractive to the publishing world, then what she does is she reaches out to them all at the same time. She tells them that she's creating a bidding on this, or an auction. It's an actual auction. She gives them the time and the date of the auction. She sends them the manuscript, and she allows them to all submit their bid. And now, one of my clients, she had her book go up for auction. This was after she took my program and learned how to market it, because that certainly made her far more attractive to literary agents. And Simon & Schuster preempted all bids and bought her book for $2.4 million. And it was her first book. And she was an unknown author. But she first learned how to market. excuse me, self-published a book, brought it out to the world, and then got a literary agent. I do talk about her in Epitome as well. Okay. Yeah, author AI is also less expensive, could not enroll in the Epitome program, but want to in the future. Listen, Vladdy talked about decisions. You have to ask yourself, do I want it? And you'll figure out the way. Bob Proctor used to say this all the time. It's not about the money. If you want something, you'll find the money. He used to say, look around your home at all the stuff that you had. You probably didn't have the money to buy it all, but you wanted it and you made it happen. You have to decide if you want it. That's absolutely where you start. Make the decision and you'll find a way. Absolutely. Okay. Did I get all the questions? Yeah. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate you. Oh, thank you. Nice guy. I appreciate the kind words here on the right-hand side. Okay, Roddy says, can AI help the author with photos and articles that are in the public domain that we may use them? Sure. Yeah, I remember a gentleman that I knew found a book in the public domain, and he created a new opening for the book, something you could totally use AI for, bundled it up with some other stuff and started selling it online. I think he made a small fortune. And I'm talking about millions of dollars of pulling a book from the public domain and repackaging it up to be incredibly valuable and earned millions of dollars. You know what I love about what we do is that it's repeatable. It's a repeatable format or formula. That's really what we teach. And, you know, when I think about the questions that were asked about applying these materials, anyone can apply it. But what's fascinating is there's just no end. There's no end to where this can go and what you can create and how much you can earn and how fulfilling it is, because it's an incredibly fulfilling career. I love being an author. Absolutely love it. And I love working with people and I love helping them create their works, their pieces of work. And I love seeing them seeing them succeed. You know, there was a slide that I didn't use any slides today because I just wanted to totally just flow and come from my heart and communicate with you today. And one of the slides that we've used often in our presentations is your success is our success. That's what we're here for, is to help you succeed, to help uplift you as you're helping uplift others as well. So thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys. We'll have the replay up and available for you. Make sure you check out the programs, get in, would love to serve you. You can jump in and start, like when you sign up for either Epitome or Author, the AI Author Advantage program, you will be immediately access the content. It's all there already. You can dive in right now and you can get started. You're very welcome, guys. I really appreciate you. Thank you, Vladdy. Thank you so much. Appreciate you sharing. Thank you, Roddy. And thank you, Kayla. I know Kayla's here as well. Really appreciate all you guys. And look forward to working with you further and look forward to hearing about your success. Thanks so much, everyone. Bye-bye.